issues happening here, how are we going to be able to take advantage of what's happening out there? How can Kenya take advantage of some of those? And we're going to have that conversation with our guest who's already seated. Tell you about him in a minute. Okay, CT. I want to go abroad for university education.
Good for you.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
But I get confused oftentimes. People might scam me out of my no shillings. People might decide to just take advantage of me and say, okay, come and then we'll give later.
Where people have done precisely that in this country. Yes.
I don't know which country to go to. Should I go to New Zealand? Will they not like me? Should I go to Germany? What should I do? Where should I go? How do I answer all these questions? You know, it's just buzzing in my head.
And even if I want to go, how do I even start?
Where? Who? Where? How do I apply?
How will I know which university to go to given the desire that I have for training? And how will I know I can afford it? How will I even ensure that, if it is my child, that apart from admission, where will they stay? And I don't have relatives in that country.
Exactly.
Now,
there's somebody who can answer all these questions for you. Cradle is putting together the World Study Abroad Fair. It's on the 31st of August, and all these questions you can get answers to. Which university can you go to match with your skills or match with your desire, your career choices for the future? Which country would then be able to offer that for you? How can you apply for scholarships? How can you then apply for admission? Which visa requirements would you need? Imagine all of this information in one room for one day, everything at one time. You could basically walk into the Gallant Mall on the 31st of August at 11 a.m. and walk out at 4 p.m. with all your questions answered, admission in tow, scholarship applied for, visa information in the bag, and you can get it done. We're going to need you to register, though. Go to www.cradle.com. at CRAYDEL, register there, and then you can also dial 0799 000 All these questions that are having me in a twist will be answered. Voila? Voila. All right. This conversation this hour is looking at how Kenya essentially can leverage its, on the global scale. Basically. And we've looked at quite a number of things in the last hour when we talked about the Finance Act. And okay, so we're in trouble. Okay, we'll be able to pay bills. How are we going to be able to foster a proper working environment? And so, to help us out in this conversation this morning about how Kenya can take advantage of global labor market trends amidst these tough economic times is Laban Joguna, who is the founder and CEO of Zabuni Specialty Coffee. He's been here before, and we're looking at, okay, so what does it look like out there? Laban, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
Fantastic.
Good to have you in the room again.
Thank you.
How's the coffee brewing?
Coffee's brewing great. Never been better. So my palate is still craving for an Americano.
Oh, at this moment?
Yes.
Okay, well, I don't know if I can help you with that, but what I can help you with is a proverb. And CT has it, and he can tell you where it's from, and then maybe you can tell us what you think about that and how would you interpret it. Yes?
All right.
Okay.
Our proverbs for the whole of this week come from the People's Republic of Algeria. Okay. There is an excess of familiarity at the root of all hostility. There is an excess of familiarity at the root of all hostility.
What do you think about that?
There is an excess of familiarity at the root of all hostility. I think prepare well. Prepare well. I think I'd say prepare well. Prepare well. Prepare well for whatever is ahead of you, whether it's a challenge or whether it's something that you've done before.
Yeah.
I think for me, it's prepare well. Yeah.
Okay. You never know what you're going to face, so be ready for it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Can all be interpreted any which way.
Actually, it is. One of the beautiful things about asking for someone's opinion is that you always get to look at that proverb in a way that you couldn't have thought of. Because they bring their own experiences into the understanding of that proverb.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so as we get into this, Laban, from the outside looking in, or even from the inside looking out, it would seem as though there are very little in terms of options when you can, leverage with opportunity. Many have said that what needs to happen right now is foster an environment whereby the private entities or the commercial markets can actually thrive. And the only way in which to do that is to leverage them with what's happening on the global scale, on the global markets. What is happening on the global markets that Kenya could actually start to take advantage if we're going to jump right into that conversation right now?
Thanks a lot, Ndu, CT, Ken, for having me here once again. First off, it's my daughter's birthday, so happy birthday. Back there in the United States.
What's your daughter's name?
Marugi.
Marugi. Well, happy birthday,
happy
Marugi.
birthday,
Could be
Marugi.
asleep now,
Yes.
though.
She is asleep. She is
Don't
asleep.
worry, it's been recorded. It is on YouTube.
She'll get it.
Yeah, she'll get it.
Yeah. She'll be able to see that. She'll be pretty excited. I think Kenya has a lot. I've been here now for a few weeks, and I've actually been going around working with or looking at the TVETs, seeing what we have here to offer. And what is happening on the global scale is they're just as desperate and need people just as much as we need jobs. So I think there's a win-win situation here. And for me, whenever I think about Kenya, I think about a very resilient, hardworking, creative kind of product as far as people are concerned. So the global job market, which, I'm based in the United States, and it's something we're looking at. We have the baby boomer generation exiting, and then there are certain jobs that the local people there don't want to do for whatever reason. And then, combined with, same thing we did here. I think for a very long time, there was a big push towards doing degrees and forgetting what the technical jobs are. So when I talk about this space for me, I think it's looking at the North American market and knowing that Kenya is actually uniquely positioned as far as training the people, as far as exposure, our communication skills. So we do have a very uniquely positioned demographic to be able to take advantage of this need.
What needs to happen then for that to start to be? Because there have been many conversations, and I think these conversations take place globally, whereby, whether you're domiciled in a particular geographical area, to say that in order for thriving to happen, from a developmental point of view, you need to then be able to work at a surplus. It is the surplus then that will go towards your development. But in order to have that happen, you must manufacture something, you must sell it, and the profits are what you rack up over time that then essentially allow you to get into that stage of development. But what are the opportunities that you can then match to availability? So,
what I've been looking at when I look at North America and predominantly the Midwest, and I look at Kenya, I look at manufacturing jobs. We're looking at some engineering jobs, and then we're looking at the trades. The trades are, electricians, plumbers, carpenters, HVAC technicians.
What?
HVAC.
What on earth is that?
Like refrigeration, the guys who do the air conditioning and all that. So who fix that kind of stuff.
Yes.
Heating and cooling. Truckers, diesel techs or diesel mechanics. Those are the kind of jobs that I do feel they're very well paying, by the way. Hapa tunazita kazi za mkono. Huko we call them the trades. And there's a big gap there.
How did this come about? I'm actually very curious.
Well, like I mentioned earlier, I think it's the same thing that Kenya did for a while. We did not concentrate on those technical jobs in the United States as well. And so people were being pushed towards 4-year college degrees, sitting behind a desk somewhere as opposed to taking part in learning a technical skill. And now they're trying to make up for that, starting this, career pathways and things like that very early in high school. But it's still not enough.
But then, I asked the question. There's a narrative that one reads about when you listen to what politicians in the U.S. talk about when they are campaigning against a country like China. There's a narrative of they have taken our jobs. And you are saying the complete opposite, that the jobs actually exist.
Yes. I think when we're not doing the political speak and the dog and pony show,
yes.
They do know that they do need the jobs. Unfortunately, immigration is used as a wedge issue in the United States. But for me and for many others, it's an economic issue. When you're a small business owner and you can't be able to get the right or necessary talent and labor so that your business may be able to grow or expand, then there's a big problem. The largest businesses, or the quantity-wise in the United States, are small businesses. It's not this big billion-dollar Fortune 500, companies you see around. And they're the ones that get hurt when they can't find the right labor, the right skill set. Their businesses are the ones that get hurt. And these are the people that employ people in our communities, down there in the Mashinani. It's the small businesses. So when they can't get access to the necessary labor, it becomes a problem.
But certain things need to happen. There needs to be an environment that is created that would adequately address these issues. But do we see that happening here? Because we can talk about there being opportunities around the world, but then there needs to be an environment that is created locally, domestically, that would then allow or to foster this kind of thing. If you can't match them, if you're not, again, putting people through the process, whether it is education or education and training, then you don't ripen them for the opportunities that are abroad. What needs to happen domestically in order for that?
Fantastic question. So one of the things I've been doing is working very closely with government. And the reason is because when you're dealing with a foreign, sphere, let me put it that way, for us looking for labor here and people here looking for employment there, then you have to work with, the necessary entities here. And that for us has been State Department for Diaspora Affairs. They've been fantastic. It's been one of the, to me, departments that I do believe has brought a fresh breath and a new injection of creativity and vigor to this space as far as government is concerned, in my opinion. Then TVETs, the TVETs department is another entity that we've been working with, just because they're the ones who are doing a lot of this training. They do have centers of excellence, if I may call them that. I was very surprised over the last few weeks when I've traveled around the country and seen how well equipped these TVETs are. There's some that are so well equipped, I haven't even seen entities like that in the United States. They're that good. So, and when you talk to the instructors, you're like, man, these guys really know their stuff.
Yeah.
And it gives you a lot of confidence. Me, as someone who's now doing HR recruiting for the United States, it gives a lot of confidence when you see that, knowing that, man, the guys that came out of here are probably very well qualified. So Kenya, I think Kenya has everything in place, but I still think and feel like there's not a whole government approach to accessing these jobs out there. And until they're able to do that, whether it's branding Kenyan labor, being out there a lot more and speaking about this product, I think there's a lot of opportunities that are just passing us by. If you look at countries like Philippines, Vietnam, they've taken over whole industries in the United States. The Philippines, if you look at the healthcare sector, they're literally everywhere. You look at people from Southeast Asia like Vietnam, the cosmetology side. You go to any, you get a pedicure or whatever in the US or eyebrows or whatever, it's going to be someone from Southeast Asia who's doing that. Eastern Europe, in the trucking industry, And so for me, I just feel like Kenya is actually uniquely placed and prepared to be able to take advantage of this jobs in the trades. I think as long as there's a cohesive and a collective approach to this,
could work for us.
Yeah.
My concerns are two. One, the president, when he says he's looking for jobs abroad, and he's got deals that will take thousands of Kenyans abroad for these job opportunities, what does it mean precisely? And then you've spoken about a joint collective sort of approach that the government needs to adopt if this has to work. So is the government approach currently working? Because the president says their jobs, the Ministry of Labor, Foreign Affairs, they say we're negotiating deals and there'll be jobs abroad. So is this approach working? And if there's one thing that you'll eliminate or add in this approach, what would that be?
Thank you. I think the government is doing something. The two entities that I've worked with so far have been fantastic. That is the TVET people and the State Department of Diaspora Affairs. That is why I'm here. This trip was not even about coffee. This was predominantly about the labor immigrant market. So there's always room for improvement. There's always things that can be enhanced and done better. And I think for me, that focus needs to be channeled with all the entities, whether it's creating, like when they have security situations, I see them bring, a whole government approach, probably security agencies to handle something.
Yeah.
I think that's where we are. Because I just feel like I said, you look at the TVET institutions, fantastic. They're doing a fantastic job over there. If government is able now to bring together all these other entities, labor, the branding people or the marketing people, and bring necessary HR experts to appeal. People there don't know that Kenya has this skill set, has all these skill sets, has this. They don't know. They're just not aware that we even speak English or good English for that matter.
Really?
I'm telling you.
We're
2024.
we're at a place where...
Good English.
Have they met you?
Good English.
Have they met you?
Now they have.
And they still doubt.
No, good English.
Ken, if you have an entire country of people who think that Africa is one country.
Really?
Yes, the reference point is, you're from Africa.
And South Africa is the
say hi to
capital.
CT, yeah.
The thing is, he's right.
Really?
Yes. You see, you come from a background where you are taught the geography and history of other countries. So you are aware. You actually do know.
Yeah.
You can talk about the St. Lawrence Seaway and even explain how it works because somebody taught you geography. The gap exists, and that gap is probably what disadvantages people in this country who could benefit from those opportunities. And so someone who understands both worlds is probably best placed to ensure that that gap is actually filled.
And that's why you sit to bridge that gap.
So that's where, yes, I sit. So actually what happened was earlier this year we were on a trade mission with the state of Nebraska. We came to Kenya in February. It was a trade mission led by our Secretary of State. And there was about 15 business people. And of that, there was two gentlemen there. One by the name of Todd Vettel and the other one by Dean Alberts. And those guys are in the logistics industry. And after spending 10, 12 days here, they were like, this is fantastic. They could clearly communicate because they would engage with everyone around them at the hotel and wherever else. And so what they've been doing for a long time is sourcing for labor from around the world. But after the Kenyan trip, they decided they were going to start single sourcing. And that way they don't have to deal with hundreds of different cultures because they felt like they were a culture management company and just single source because they can get everything they need here.
Yeah.
And so when we got back, that's how this whole thing started was, can you help us be part of this process and put this together? So since we're single sourcing from Kenya and me being the native guy.
It's unbelievable still.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
That's why I got to be part of this team. And I'm a sucker for adding value to people. Anytime there's something that's happening where we can help move someone from point A to point B, I think you can always count me in on that process.
Okay, we're going to take a break in a minute, but just what I'm looking at here is that there seem to be so many pieces, and they seem to be strewn all over the place. Skill is over here. Government participation is over here. Opportunity externally is over here. Education within the country and possibility of education abroad. It just seems to me as though there needs to be that one needle and thread then that starts to sew all of this together.
I agree.
Who's that holds the needle and the thread?
I think it's a group of people, simply because there are entities on that other side and there are entities on this other side. For us, we just want to be that bridge that helps identify, help with the immigration process, place, and help people successfully settle on that other side. Whether it's by themselves or with their families, we want to be able to make sure that people are set on a foundation that they can be able then to thrive off of. I went to the US 24, 25 years ago, and I guarantee you I feel like if I had somebody holding my hand from day one, the outcome may have been different. Well, it turned out okay, but it could have been better. I think a lot of mistakes that some of us made because we were kind of just figuring it out. And we're going to school. It wasn't that hard. Finding a job and earning a living is a little bit of a more hectic or chaotic situation.
I imagine so. Laban Njuguna is our guest this hour, and we're looking at how Kenya can leverage, what we have here with external opportunities, essentially to boost economic growth and development. We continue with that conversation. We come back from this break now at 29 minutes to 10 o'clock. Very important things here that need to be taken advantage of, whether it is on a private commercial level or whether it is on a government level, and also when you see the two combined, I think. So let's come back and